Hello, and welcome. This is Dr. Barry again with another episode of the Health and Wellness podcast and TV radio show, designed to help bring informative topics regarding health and wellness. Now, obviously, I'm Dr. Barry, MD, the host, and today has been a pretty exciting day. And one, I'm actually in a remote location this week in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. It's been pretty cool, and I've seen a lot of cool things. I actually visited here quite a bit, and while I'm here, I'm going to try to get some awesome footage for the blog. Again, I'm a big foodie, so we'll be highlighting some really cool restaurants, really cool cuisines, especially Mexican seafood cuisines. So if you're interested in that, check me out. Instagram will be where you'll be able to find some of my exploits. That's at Instagram. My ID name is Dr. Barry MD. That's DrBarry Also, and I forgot to mention before I went straight to the Instagram, today's show is actually going to be about something pretty cool. At least for me, who's a nutrition head. Actually going to talk about carbs and the real skinny on carbs, whether or not they're good or bad, or they're terrible. And the cool thing is that this show will have an accompanying blog post where we'll put some more info out there you can read, as well as references. Of course, the blog where you can find information that we talked about on the show is www.controlyourweight. That's spelled CONTROLYOUR8.com. That's controlyourweight.com. We'll have an awesome post about carbs and everything else on the blog, as well as some references you can reference if you want to learn more information. So please check that out. That's going to be a very awesome addition to today's show. Now, like I said, one more thing, please don't forget about Facebook blog, as well as episodes can be posted. We post on facebook.com/next level weight loss, and weight is spelled normally there. Again, so the show today is about carbohydrates. Now, what are carbs? Carbs. People have been talking about carbs, it seems like ad nauseum for the past 20 years. They don't know if they're poison, are they healthy, are they good, are they bad? And that's something that's been kind of all the rage in the nutritious community. Of course, it didn't help when our lovely friend Dr. Atkins, who was rumored to have died of a heart attack, by the way, advocated eliminating carbs from the diet so that you can lose weight. Now, apparently many people took this to heart and they were able to lose weight because carbs are something that your body normally uses to create energy. Now, let's get to a little bit of the nitty gritty. I'm not going to try to bore anyone here. We're going to keep it light and fun for this afternoon show. But carbs are basically foodstuffs that are broken down when consumed by the body into glucose. Carbohydrates are pretty much ubiquitous. I mean, they're almost everywhere. Carbs is something that's, we have been exposed to since the beginning of mankind. Now, carbs are a pretty broad term, and you can really break it down pretty heavily. You go into the weeds here, which we'll go to a little bit, but not too much. I don't want to, again, overwhelm you with boring science information. But anyways, carbs are essentially used as energy. Glucose is the primary source of energy used by the body. Carbohydrates are broken down into glucose. So carbs are ideal when you need energy, like the morning. Carbs also, if consumed in excess, will be turned into fat. Unlike a machine, the human body is such an amazing device that if you take in too much energy, you can store it in certain areas of the body for use later in case you don't have access to such heavy quantities of food. Now, in a situation of starvation where getting meals are difficult, this is actually good. You may kill a wild animal and roast it over open fire, have a delicious barbecue, a lot of fat and calories be consumed, even though that's actually a bad example because fat is more of a protein, animal is more protein. But how about this? Let's say you stumble upon a big bread basket left behind by your a neighboring village or something, who knows? And now you have excess foods for the day. If you eat all those, let's say breadsticks or whatever, you'll probably gain some extra weight because those extra bread that you consume will probably be converted into fat for storage later, because you may have a famine in the next 6 months. Those fat stores may come in handy. Now, obviously, we're in a period of excess, and famines are few and far in between, knock on wood. I mean, again, for good reason. There's been some amazing innovations in, farming and distribution and everything else that allow food to be distributed throughout the world pretty easily. Unfortunately, people have taken this to heart and began to consume excess amounts, resulting in people getting larger than normal fat stores. And unfortunately, carbohydrates are probably a big reason for that. Now, carbohydrates, like I said, have been the brunt of a lot of blame lately, but carbs are not all bad. There's really two kind of major carbohydrates that are out there. Those are simple carbohydrates and complex carbohydrates. Simple carbohydrates, like I said, are pretty simple forms of foodstuff, usually sweet items like sugars and syrups. These things, when consumed, get immediately broken down into glucose, which goes straight into your bloodstream, causing swift spikes in your blood sugar levels. Now, of course, if you're a diabetic who has issues with blood glucose control management, this can be bad. Now, the thing about carbohydrates, they tend to be, at least these simple carbohydrates, are in abundance in foodstuffs that are very sweet to the taste. Things like candies, cakes, sugary coffee lattes, popsicles, pies, and soft drinks, all those kind of things that kids love to engorge on if you let them. These are things that tend to be high in simple sugar. So as a result, these are probably bad to consume. Now, if you want a quick jolt of energy for an hour or so, you can, drink some sort of sweet drink. But hopefully you're going to be moving around and actually burn those calories. Because if not, it'll probably be converted to fat for storage later. Obviously, this can be bad if you're someone who's trying to lose weight. So now, this is why carbohydrates are something that have to be closely managed. Now, before we go to that, let's talk about complex carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates are carbohydrates that consist of many molecules, sugar molecules, I should say, chained together. Now, the thing about these or what we call polysaccharides, which is multiple chains of sugar molecules, these complex carbohydrates are usually found in fruits, whole grains, vegetables, and so forth. And in addition to having sugar, they also contain usually lots of minerals and nutrients within these complex networks of sugar molecules. So hence, when these complex carbohydrates are consumed, usually the body has to really work to break it down, resulting in a slow release of glucose into the bloodstream. Now, this is important because you don't get that typical high spike in sugar levels you get when you consume simple carbohydrates. This is the reason why foods that are carbohydrates but don't give you this typical spike are considered low on their effect on the glycemic index. The glycemic index is just a way to describe the level of elevation you get of blood sugar after consuming some foods. So complex carbohydrates are obviously very good for you. You consume them, they release a slow supply of glucose, which is ideal for the body's metabolism. They're usually full of minerals, nutrients as well, interspersed between the sugars, so you get added bonuses in those areas. And complex carbohydrates are typically combined with a lot of fiber. So fiber is something that we've always raved about here at ControlYourWeight.com, as it's a very, very important nutrient that you need to consume to help with GI metabolism. So complex carbohydrates are obviously an essential part of any serious nutrition, or I should say anyone who's serious about their health and consuming healthy foods. And complex carbohydrates typically are found, and like we said, grains, whole grains, fruits and vegetables and things like that. Now, one thing we don't talk about a lot, and just not really mentioned, is things like potatoes. Potatoes are actually also carbohydrates. They're complex. The problem is that they actually are coupled with high levels of starch, because again, potatoes are a storage mechanism for plants who want to store food for long-term use when food is not in abundance. Humans have now taken these quote-unquote roots, what we call potatoes, and converted them into food, can be very delicious. But the problem is that because these are storage vehicles, they are chock full of energy, which is, again, a potential issue if you consume too much of them. This is why potatoes have kind of been labeled bad carbs due to their high level of starch and their significant effect on the glucose levels when consumed. Now, eating a potato could really be as impactful on your caloric intake as eating cake. French fries are even worse. The reality is potatoes, while complex carbs, are one of the few carbs that are actually not that great for you due to their high content of starch. But before we go into a lot of detail regarding potatoes and starch, we'll kind of decide, let's go and finish up kind of overall issue with carbs. Carbs in general are complex. And the most important thing you must remember with carbs is you have to approach them very carefully to maximize their nutritional impact on your diet. Now, we'll get in more detail regarding nutritional impact of carbs, how to approach carbs, ways to kind of ensure you're getting the appropriate type of carbs, and when to eat carbs during the day. Again, thank you for joining us for the first half of the show. Join us on the flip side of the break. We tackle a little more detail regarding carbs and how to exist with them peacefully. Thanks, guys. A small order of cake has about 312 calories and a significant amount of saturated fats, sodium, and cholesterol. A small order of French fries has about, or 100 grams, has about the same amount, 312 calories, about 2.3 grams saturated fat, and again, a significant amount of carbohydrates as well, about 41 grams. So if the recommended daily carbohydrate intake for most individuals is roughly 150 to 200 calories, 200 grams, sorry. So let's look at French fries. A French fry, let's say 100 grams of French fries is about a small order of French fries from your typical fast food restaurant. It has about 312 calories, about 15 grams of fat, and about 41 grams of carbs. Now, if the typical diet for someone who's trying to stay lean and have a well-balanced diet comprised of healthy carbohydrates as well as protein and other items, it's usually recommended that someone consume about 150 grams to 200 grams of carbohydrates a day. Now, this is a number that I've kind of pulled together from various sources, but 150 to 200 grams is kind of the recommended intake of carbohydrates for someone who's looking to have a low carbohydrate diet as a part of their healthy living. Now, we're not talking zero carbs here. Some of these people who think 80 carb is poison, that's not what we generally subscribe to. Carbs are definitely something you should consume, but in low to moderate quantities. Now, anyways, so if you're consuming let's say 150 grams of calories a day, let's say you want to try to be healthier and get that 150, really get those carbs. It's cutting season, so you want to really get them carbs down. 150 grams is really what's recommended. So if you eat a small order of French fries, that's 41 grams of carbs. That's literally like, again, nearly one third of all the, or I say a little less than 1/3 of all the carbs you should be consuming for the entire day. More like 1/4. And the problem is that 1/4 if you're doing 200 and 1/3 if you're doing 150. But either way, it's a significant portion of one's carbs that you should be consuming. So, of course, the average person is not on a low carb. They're just on a typical Western diet. So they may get these super-sized fries, consuming about 100 grams of carbs. They get like the double or the triple, meaning that they probably consumed the total number of recommended carbs in one sitting. You can see why someone who loves burgers and French fries or fried potatoes tends to easily pack on the pounds. Now imagine comparing these French fries to a slice of strawberry cake. we look at the nutrition data of strawberry cake, now strawberry cake has typically 330 calories, about 17 grams of fat, and about 42 grams of carbohydrates, and also a significant amount of sugar, 33 grams of sugar, which also become carbs as well, or it's kind of as carbs as well, excuse me. So the thing is, if someone said, here, have 4 slices of cake, you'd probably think that person was a glutton. But if someone says, here, have these extra helpings of French fries, you probably think, hey, it's not a bad idea. Reality is, they're both fairly detrimental to your health, but one is generally accepted in society and one isn't. I think the concern is that we have to be able to understand that carbs, when consumed in excess, can definitely have a detrimental effect on the body. Now, with all this, attacking of carbs, which it seems like I'm doing, I definitely am a huge fan of carbs. They're carbs that everyone should be consuming on a regular basis. And my favorite complex carbohydrates is steel-cut oatmeal. It's one of the most nutritious foods you can consume in the morning, and something I like to consume on a regular basis. Now, for example, steel-cut oatmeal. Steel-cut oatmeal by itself, let's say about a 5-ounce bowl of steel-cut oatmeal. Again, these numbers, by the way, are taken from actually the MyFitnessPal app. It's one of the apps I use to help research. I use this as well. So if you have some questions regarding foods you're consuming, download that MyFitnessPal app today and type in some foods. But anyways, steel-cut organic oatmeal. A 5-ounce bowl has about 170 calories. It also has 33 grams of carbs. But in addition to those carbs, you have 4 grams of fiber and 10% so 10% of the iron that you would need to take in as part of a healthy diet for the day as well. So in addition to those carbohydrates, you have iron packed in there to help you, give you that added boost. And we all know iron is great for blood production and something that the cells use to help maintain normal functionality, and something that, it's always good to have on hand. Now, you don't want to go overboard with iron, but people who are anemic out there realize the importance of iron, and why with low levels of iron, you can really get into a world of trouble, especially with anemia. So organic steel-cut oats are just one great example of how complex carbs are not only superior to simple carbs in every way, they can have a lot of advantages as far as packing extra nutrients that you may not be aware of. This is the reason why vegetables and fruits can be some of the most nutritious and healthy things you can consume, because in addition to their carbohydrates, which is helpful for energy, they also have tons of fiber and tons of different minerals interspersed within these complex polysaccharide chains within these vegetables and fruits that can help boost your health and wellness. Now, if you're looking to add healthy carbs to your diet, here are some tips. Like I said, focus on consuming carbs in the AM, in the early morning. When you're waking up, you want some energy and you want some nutrition. Consider a bowl of hot steel-cut oatmeal, like I just said, or old-fashioned oatmeal. You want the least processed oatmeal or whole grain as possible. Cold cereal is also a great substitute. That's chock full of whole grains and low in sugar. Because you think about a lot of these carbohydrates, when they add a bunch of sugar, you tend to get some of the detrimental calorie contributions as well as potential simple sugar overloads, which we explained are not the healthiest for the metabolism. Now, another way you can also focus on increasing your carb or your complex carb intake is switching out whole grain breads for white bread. Now, hopefully, people have kind of assumed this is normal. I remember when I was growing up, only like old people ate wheat bread, and it was considered pretty disgusting. Now, as people have noticed that whole grains have amazing health benefits, wheat bread and whole grain bread has been pretty popular as of late. So it's not really too difficult now to see whole grain bread options in most restaurants and grocery stores. So if you're still out there confused as to why whole grain bread is so great, like we said earlier, it's full of complex carbohydrates. Grains like whole wheat or whole rye. Grains like whole grain bread are fairly nutritious. If you just look at quickly about the whole wheat bread, and a typical slice of whole wheat bread full of whole grains has about 250 calories, which is still a significant amount of calories because bread, again, is energy. Carbohydrates are energy, so high calories to be expected when dealing with carbs. However, in addition to its 41 grams of carbs, which is, again, typical, it has 7 grams of fiber. So excellent fiber source for those looking to increase their fiber intake, which should be everybody, as well as high levels of calcium, magnesium, vitamin B6, and iron. So again, those looking to increase the levels of iron, whole grains should be an important part of your diet because of the high iron content, as well as magnesium, which is good for strong bones, and B6, which is important for cellular metabolism. So again, whole grains, not in addition to just simple energy, which is what all carbs provide, complex carbs give you added boosts of minerals and nutrients. So the bottom line is complex carbs are should be a very important part of your diet. And when it comes to the simple carbs, those are the ones that people should look to reduce, if not eliminate altogether, to help fight obesity and lose weight. Other tips you could do as well: consider whole fruit juice instead of juice. Whole juice has more fiber, more nutrients, and far less sugar than these drinks, grape drinks and red drinks that are sold in some of these stores. I remember when as a youth, money was low, so back then we didn't know any better. It was a very popular beverage of choice was red drink. Unfortunately, I'm sure it was tons of carcinogens being consumed because we didn't know what we were doing. But that's a huge no-no now. If there's no mention of whole juice or real juice on the label, throw it out. You want to be consuming nothing but whole fruit juice, and not juice which has some coloring agents, ton of sugar, water, and full of preservatives. That's not ideal. And lastly, like we said earlier, potatoes can be a pretty bad source of nutrition, primarily because they have huge stores of starch, which can be really, really damaging to the glycemic index and have essentially been found to promote weight gain. Hence the reason French fries, while one of America's favorite foods, can be pretty harmful if you're not being very active and limiting your consumption of those. So instead of fries, maybe beans or salad are a great accompaniment. Try a hamburger and a salad next time you're at your local restaurant and see how much better you feel as opposed to the supersized fry option that's typically paired with hamburgers or whatever protein you tend to consume. Either way, hopefully everyone learned a little bit something about carbs. Bottom line is carbs are an essential part of your diet, but like anything, they should be consumed in moderation. Please, if you have any questions, reach out. I'm at Instagram at DrBarryMD, or you can reach me out on my blog email, which is drbarry@controlyourweight spelled W8.com. Again, please, any concerns or questions as well as inquiries, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Health and Wellness Connection podcast. Again, there will be a blog as well with the same information posted very shortly. So check out the blog if you want to review some information, or you can feel free to reach out for any questions, and I'll try to reach out. Thanks so much for tuning in. Peace and love.